This weekend is going to be special, and I want to welcome you to Cedar Creek. If we haven't met yet, my name's Ben, and I'm so glad that you are here. Today, we're wrapping up our series called What is God Teaching Me? A conversation about how to recognize God's voice and direction in our life. We'll be using personal lessons that He's teaching our leaders or friends of Cedar Creek. And so if you've missed any of the previous messages, be sure to catch up online or on our app. But for this weekend, we're doing something special, something we've done before. We call it 3 in 30. 3 different speakers in 30 minutes. See, at Cedar Creek, we believe developing leaders is a vital part of the church's mission. Leadership is one of the spiritual gifts that God gives, and whether you have that specific gift or not, leading yourself well is a marker of spiritual maturity. That's why we invest especially in young leaders, because they are the future of the church, the future of God's mission. I was one of those young leaders once. Let's not talk about how long ago that was, but for today, you're going to hear from 3 young communicators, leaders within our church. Each is going to share about a 10-minute message, 2 from our Perrysburg campus, and 1 from your local campus. And the truth is, many of them are gaining experience, so you get to be a part of what God is doing in them. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I spoke. It wasn't great, but our founding pastor, Lee Powell, and so many of you kept encouraging me, and that encouragement helped shape me in so many ways. So here's what I'm asking from you. Lean in, laugh, listen with an open heart, clap when they're done. Some of them may be a little nervous, but your support means more to them than you'll ever know. Enjoy being a part of their growth as they step into what God is calling them to do next. And let's celebrate and listen and lean in together as we hear from our next generation of communicators. It's time for 3 in 30.
Spencer Osborne, our director of Dream Team at the White House campus, is a husband and father of 2 kids. He coaches basketball for Anthony Wayne High School, and he likes to tell others he's really good at cornhole, although not everyone is convinced. Please welcome Spencer Osborne.
I want you to think about your life and what it looked like 3 years ago from today, all right? Now, that may seem like not that long ago, but you're probably still scrambling and trying to figure out like what exactly you were doing 3 years ago or what your life looked like. Like for reference, here in Northwest Ohio, Raising Cane's had finally opened 3 years ago from today. And like that's something we could celebrate because that's something that I was praying for a long time, all right? And if you're curious, like Cane sauce is better than Chick-fil-A sauce, all right? So case closed, moving on. 3 years is a long time. And so my guess is that your life looks pretty different than what it did 3 years ago. I know that's the case for my wife and my family because 3 years ago, we had just welcomed our first son, Grayson, into the world. And so this is a picture of Grayson at the beach a few months ago. Man, he is like my best friend. This smile lights up a room. And if you're a parent, like you get it. Like when you're a parent, you see things differently, all right? And you see the changes throughout the years, right? Like you go from diapers to big kid underwear and like the mess that can come with that, all right? And then you go from like cribs to big boy beds, and you go from like not really talking to literal nonstop talking all the time and like you just want a moment to breathe. Change happens. And so why does things look different than what it did 3 years ago? It's that word that I just mentioned. It's change. You see, some of you in your seats right now, you just shivered a little bit and you're like, ooh, change. Don't love that word. Where's the exit? Like you're looking around the room, you're trying to get out of here. Because maybe you've had a bad experience with change. Maybe you love change. Typically, we love the change that we can control in our lives, change that we prompt on our own. But the change, the opposite of that, the ones that we push away, like we run, we're scared of. Maybe you've had bad experiences. And like the more and more I think about change, like isn't it crazy how quick life changes? Like one day you go to bed and things are great and you wake up and the next morning, like you're just trying to make sense of what just happened. You see, we tend to welcome the good changes, but we tend to push away the opposite. We tend to push away the bad ones. And the worst part of it all is that change is inevitable. It's going to happen. And don't just take my word for it. You can take it from the Bible. In Ecclesiastes, verse 1 in chapter 3, for everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. And so it's telling us right here in Ecclesiastes that there's a time for every activity under heaven. And so change is going to happen. New seasons of life are going to happen. And so when change comes, like this is our question, when change comes, what should we do? If you continue to read in Ecclesiastes, verses 2 through 8, it goes on for a little bit about opposites. And so, for example, in verse 4, it says that there's a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance. And the verses around it are similar. And so when you're looking at this, like, it's pretty obvious. Grieving and dancing are two totally different things. Odds are you're in totally different seasons of life when you're experiencing these things. You see, it's up to us to determine and to know what season of life, what change we're experiencing in life. And so hopefully, like when you're thinking of your life 3 years ago, that's on the forefront of your mind. Like you're thinking about it. And so the more and more that I read these verses, like what it was telling me, what I was seeing through it is like, yes, change is inevitable. There's different seasons, there's different times for different things in life. But also that there's purpose. Like God is pointing you towards purpose during the changes that you are experiencing in life. And it's up to us to look to that purpose why we experience them. Because even the uncomfortable changes that we go through in life, and they have value. They have purpose. If you skip forward a few verses, in verse 11, it says, "Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity in the human heart, but even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end." You see, that wraps this up good, and it brings me to our bottom line for our time together. It says this: in every season, find God's reason. Earlier, I said, think about your life 3 years ago, and I talked about 3 years being a long time ago, and that's true for my life, because that feels like forever, all right? We had just welcomed Grayson, and we got really used, we as in my wife Kennedy and I, like we got used to what life looked like. Like we were comfortable. Like we knew who was going to put him down to bed at night. We knew who was going to wake him up in the morning. We knew like what the opposite person was doing, whether they were cleaning or, making dinner or whatever was going on. Like we went through those 3 years, and yes, like there were changes during that, all right? Like things happen, like from 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, like of course the nature of like growing up, like there's changes in that. But for the most part, like we felt comfortable. We were on a pretty routine schedule along the way. And then came a time where we chose to change things up. Like we made the decision that we wanted to grow our family. And so we got pregnant. And this is exciting. Like it was fun. And we're like, oh yeah, in 10 months, like we're going to expand our family and things are going to be great. And so, a month goes by, and then 5 months go by, and then 9 months go by. And like it's the day before we're supposed to go to the hospital. And we start to realize, like it starts to dawn on us, like, things are changing, all right? And so we go to the hospital, things go great, and we welcome our second into the world, Avery. And so I've got a picture of my family here. That's Avery, obviously our newborn, Grayson, my wife Kennedy, and myself. And seeing the joy on Grayson's face the first time he met Avery, like that was a change that I could have never prepared myself for. And like he's experiencing change in that moment as well, but man, to see him so happy, even now, over a month later, like he's experiencing the change super well. And so we're in the hospital, and like things are going great. And if I'm being honest with you for a second, like being in the hospital after you have a newborn, whether you've experienced it or not, it's kind of like a vacation, right? Like I'm serious, all right? Like you've got nurses that are there to help you. Like you can just send the baby to the nursery for a little bit, catch up on some sleep, and like it's like a vacation. And earlier, like my wife like gave me a little nudge because it's not much of a vacation for her, but it was for me in that moment, all right? But eventually, like they have to kick you out. Like they send you home, all right? And so they send you home with this human being, and you get home and we're like, oh my goodness, like things have changed. And like it dawned on us. Like we quickly realized that our routine of 3 years that we had gotten into with Grayson, like things had changed. Things were new. We were experiencing new feelings, new thoughts, and like if you've never had a child, like that's okay. Like whether you've had like a new puppy or just like a new job and like the restless nights that can come with that, like newborns don't sleep throughout the night, all right? And so like we're tired, like we wake up tired. It takes a toll on us physically. It took a toll on our relationship for the first few weeks just because every waking moment, something needed something from us, and there just wasn't time for us. And so we're experiencing this like hard change, a new season of life. And in the midst of it, we can get overwhelmed, but Kennedy and I, we made it our goal that when we felt those overwhelming feelings, the hard thoughts, the hard changes that was going on, that are still going on here now to this day, like we made it our goal, our sole purpose in that moment to remember what God put on our hearts 10 months ago. And that was because we wanted to grow our family. We wanted to expand. We wanted to see love grow further than just grace, and we wanted more. And we made that decision, and so we remember the purpose because we know that when we will look back on our lives 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, we want to look back on all the fun memories, the joy, the happiness that's coming from this season of life, not the restless nights, not the anger or the annoyances. We want to look back on those fun memories because what we're experiencing today, what you're experiencing today, is not your forever. And so it's our goal in that moment to look towards the purpose that God has put on our hearts. Earlier, when I asked you to think about 3 years ago, and I set up change, and I told you that's inevitable, and I asked you a question. I said, when change comes, what should we do? I want to help you, give you some framework. There's actually 3 questions that we can ask ourselves in the midst of that one question. So here they are. And so the first one is, what change am I experiencing right now? What's going on in your life? What's been the one thing that's been on the forefront of your mind for our 9-ish minutes here together this morning? What season of life are you in that's new, that's fresh? Whether it's a good change and you want more of it, or it's one of those opposites that you're pushing away and you're trying to run, you're trying to hide from it because it's uncomfortable. What change are you experiencing? The second one is, what is God trying to grow in me? Where is he trying to grow you? Is he trying to grow you as a husband, as a wife, as a coworker, as a friend, as a sibling? What's he trying to do in your life, in your heart? Where do you feel challenged? That's a question we can answer to be able to look towards purpose amid change. And then we can look at the last question, and I think this is one of the most important parts. It's how can I trust him more during it? Because if we miss this, then we lose the point. Life's going to change. Seasons come, they go. What your life looked like 3 years ago looks different now. But during it, it's our job, it's our responsibility to hold out our hands, open our hands, and say, God, I trust you through the good and through the bad. You see, when we ask ourselves these 3 questions, that's when we start to shift our focus to God's purpose during the change. And during the change, we can always be remembered that in every season, find God's reason. Thanks.
Jamie Shank, our director of kids at the Findlay campus, is an ordained pastor and mother of 2. She loves to go on hikes and swim, and others would say she's full of infectious energy. Please welcome Jamie Shank.
Have you ever had a moment where you knew exactly what you wanted? You made plans, you gave time, and then it didn't turn out like you were expecting. You get a no or not yet, which causes you to pause because you were sure of the direction of your life. I found myself in a place just like this a few years ago. I was in an internship for the kids ministry. I'd been interning all year long, learning experience and skills, learning how to care for people and love them where they are. And my goal for the end of my internship was to be the director of kids. It was the only goal that I made, although I had been told that it isn't that case for everyone. After a few months into my internship, more towards the end, the position opened up. I got ready for the interview. I went, did the best job I thought I could, and did not get the job. You see, there's something that you and I love to have, but we struggle with. What is it that we all want? Well, for some of us, we may think that it's control, but really, it's trust. And if I dig down a little deeper, it's trusting the timing of our lives. We crave to know what is coming in our future. We want to know if we're going to be successful in our careers and our finances, our families, our relationships. A couple of weeks ago, I found myself in a place of waiting. I had ordered an Amazon package. It was a shirt that I desperately needed. I was getting ready to go speak at high school camp, and this one shirt was the only one that was going to match my shoes. Does anyone else feel like you have to have a shoes matching your shirt? Okay, it was of great importance that this came. And so I put in my order, which I had control over the timing of it, and it said it'll arrive on Friday. I thought, great, because I need this for Saturday when I leave. And I don't know about you, but I tend to look at when my packages will arrive a lot, and I checked it again, and it bumped to Saturday. At this point, I'm starting to get a little sweaty, and I'm like, okay, this is out of my control, but I can't leave until this shirt shows up. I check it again. It says by 10 a.m. I'm standing at my door, literally waiting, getting ready to go. And good old Amazon shows up, delivers the shirt so I could go off to high school camp right on time. You see, we have the ability to choose and to plan. The problem is sometimes we hold so tightly to our plan that it comes at the expense of everything else. Now we're talking a little bit about something that we don't always love to hear, that we don't have control over our lives. People make different decisions than we wanted them to. A curveball comes out of nowhere. We get disappointed in relationships and how they work out. And yet we have an opportunity to surrender and to trust that God really does know what's best for us, even if life doesn't look like the best right now. We give ourselves the illusion of control by making plans, schedules, routines. We love to set goals and work really hard after them. For some of us, we love staying in our comfort zone because it gives us the sense of stability. But a false sense of control can actually lead us to not trust. So we're going to check out Proverbs 16:9. It says, we can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. Now, this is telling us something that we don't always love to hear. Now, this isn't saying don't make plans. God gave us a strategic brain that can think and understand different perspectives. But when we make our plans, we need to make room for God. It comes with an unavoidable reality, but in the Proverbs, it came right after the but. But the Lord determines our steps, which leads us right to our bottom line. Faith is not knowing every step, but following the one who does. If that passage in Proverbs is true, then we can sit with the fact that God is in control over every aspect of our life. He's the one that actually gives us our life to begin with. He has the control over outcomes and their timing. God is not random. He is good. He is wise, and he is so purposeful. And when life takes a different turn than we expect, it gives us an invitation to surrender. Surrendering, when I think of it, my hands instinctively do this. They move up because it's releasing and giving God the outcomes. I think sometimes we struggle with surrender. It's this thing that we quietly carry, and the people around us can't detect what it is that we're carrying. For some of us, it's fear. Fear of the unknown. We're not quite sure what's going to happen, and so that fear just settles in. For others of us, it's a quiet pride that we carry, where we actually do think that we know what's best for us. And for others of us, we take painful experiences and what happened in the past, and we try to pull that forward to inform us of what we think could happen in the future. But in the middle of surrendering, God meets us. But we can't stop just at surrendering. We have to move to trust. And so sometimes in the middle of surrendering and trust, we can say, God, can I trust you with this? And so when we move to trust, it's really believing that God knows the best step for you. In Romans 8:28, it says, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. And then we follow. Following what God is asking of you, continuing to get to know him even when the path shifts. We have a choice to follow in obedience. You see, God's detours, they're not denials. They are often divine redirections. In the beginning of my talk, I had talked about my internship. And what I couldn't see then, but I see now, is that God was really preparing me for what was next. He was getting me ready to become the kids director, which I have been for 9 years now, but I didn't know that then. Sometimes it feels like when we go on a trip and we put in our destination in our GPS and we hit go, and we're driving down the road and it says rerouting. Like, okay, so we keep on going until you hear it again and it goes rerouting. At this point, I don't know about you, but I'm checking my ETA because I want to know, am I adding time to my thing? And by the third time of hearing rerouting, I'm getting a little frustrated. I just want to get to my destination. I don't want to take the detours. And I had a detour hit my life again. This one, I didn't expect the timing of it. I had no idea when it was coming. It came out of nowhere. It was a detour that I did not want to go down, but I didn't have another choice. The detour I never expected to find myself on was becoming a single mom. At first, I was angry and heartbroken. How could my life be turning out like this? I had to learn how to surrender. And when everything I had built and worked for and prayed for my whole life came crashing down into my hands, I had to invite God in because I couldn't see the way out. I had to learn to listen to the voice of God. I had to trust his direction, even when everyone around me had an opinion of what they thought my next step was. I had to trust his answers, even when they didn't align with what I actually wanted. I had to ask for help and assistance in ways that was uncomfortable and often vulnerable. I'm still learning to follow God and where he's leading me. It doesn't look like what I planned it to look like, but it has come with such sweet moments. What I couldn't see then, but I can see now, is the community that God was putting around me. He gave me an awesome inner circle, best friends, godly advice when I really needed it. He gave me support and care on the days where I could hardly stand. I have never felt more loved than I have in this past year. You see, my desperation for God was at an all-time high. I got real in my prayer life. I read through the Psalms, which goes through about every emotion that I was feeling and gave me the permission and the gift to feel everything that I was feeling. I was being given a divine redirection, and my story is still unfolding. But I'm at peace with where I'm at. Because when you find yourself in an expected detour, it gives us a chance to put our eyes back on God, to look for him in the details. And so we surrender first, we trust, and then we follow. Because faith is not knowing every step, but following the one who does. Thanks.
We are going to continue our 3-4-30 as I get the pleasure to introduce to you the student director from the Findlay campus, speaking to you from the online studio, Zeke Griffin.
What's going on, everybody? As Brian mentioned, my name is Zeke Griffin, and I'm the student director down at the Findlay campus. And in being the student director, you know we do summer camps. Now, I want to rewind back to when I was a camper. For 2 summers, 1 week each summer, I attended a camp called True Camp. True stands for who do you trust, what is real, and who are you. That's with the U. Rocky Garza was our camp director, and he intentionally found time each of those weeks to spend with me. On the last day, we have campfire time, and he pulled me to the side and said, Zeke, the reason I come back to camp every year is to see your face. That's an incredible feeling, and it's a feeling I wanted to give back to someone else one day. I just had no clue what that would look like. I work with students full time now, and I believe I've made a change in the next generation, but this is now church number 5. Let me just get this out the way. Student ministry comes easy for me, but it's what happens behind closed doors that doesn't. It's what happened behind closed doors that got me replaced. See, I was doing ministry on the outside, but I wasn't being obedient on the inside. This is now year 3 for student ministry here at CedarCreek. It's summertime, and the Findlay campus high school numbers have been lower than they've ever been. This past week, we finished up student camps, and we have this competition between campuses for Camp Champ. Some of the games, the more students you have, the better chances you have at winning. Sean Bussell is our Next Gen Oregon campus director. Now, he's been on staff for 2 years, and he's won each of those years. There's a piece of me that was jealous. You can only imagine the thoughts that were going through my head, but none of them were ill towards him. But that last night at high school camp, Tristan was speaking and said these words: impact comes from obedience. If you know Sean, you know this guy has the biggest heart I've ever seen. And I believe without a doubt that that is why he's won back-to-back years. Now, again, winning the games and being who he is, yes, it plays a part into that. But I wholeheartedly believe that Sean is doing exactly what God has called him to do. That is obedience. This made me look at myself. And I had to ask myself this question: Zeke, what got you replaced in the past? Scripture says this. It's in John 14:15. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. This is a verse that I've recently started repeating to myself daily. Being a Christian, I know the commandments, but what God has been teaching me isn't about the commandments. It's about the first part of that verse. If you love me. See, Jesus ties obedience to love. What is love? This is something else I know. It's in 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. We've heard that verse before, but I haven't studied it before and applied it fully to my heart, because there's a piece in there that I've overlooked. And it says it multiple times in this passage. It's 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 3. This is what it says. Let's check this out. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can only fathom all the mysteries and all the knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and I give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. As I mentioned before, student ministry comes easy to me. But God doesn't want my performance. He wants my surrender, my heart, my love. That last night at high school camp, I made a choice. I didn't want these students that I'm now with to go through what those other students that I've been with before, simply because of my disobedience. I'm tired of being replaced. And I believe there's a replacement for all of us. It's in the Bible. Check this out. Saul and David. Saul was the first king of Israel, but his disobedience led God to reject him as king, and David was chosen to replace him. Eli and Samuel. Eli was a priest whose sons were corrupt. God raised up Samuel to replace Eli's lineage, and he served as a prophet and judge in Israel. Another one, Moses and Joshua. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt and through the wilderness, but he was replaced by Joshua as a leader who would bring them into the promised land. No, this time I'm going to be obedient, not from my gifting, not from my stage presence, but simply from my surrender and for my love of God. I realized something. Obedience might not look impressive, but it builds something real, something that lasts. That's what I saw in Sean and in Rocky. That's why their ministries have thrived. Their obedience from their love of God. Which leads to my bottom line. Your private obedience fuels your public impact. Here's some next steps I have for you, or some reflection questions, if you will. Where are you leading publicly, but compromising privately? Where is God asking you to obey even when no one else sees? A challenge for you. Maybe it's confessing something. Maybe it's deleting a secret app. Maybe it's saying yes to something God has asked you to do a long time ago. But again, obedience leads to something bigger. It's time for me to be obedient. Hope you are too. Peace.
Well,